Now in making the longer ramrods, you can usually get one if it's not an antique and it's a reproduction. The pipes are usually a pretty standard sort of a size, and you can usually get the ramrod dowel to fit, as I did. You could make do with just a plain rod, but it's usually better to have some sort of tip on the end that'll fit into the barrel. This being a 32 caliber one, it didn't really need a bigger tip, but I put a brass tip on it off the original one anyway. I just took it off the original, which was a matter of punching out the pin that held it in place. Rasping down or filing down the end, just the end part to fit into the brass tip, and then re-drilling through the hole that was already in the brass tip through the rod and putting a pin through it. Some ramrods have tips that you can unscrew and screw on a screw for removing a ball, a stuck ball, and I am able to do that with both the rifle and my fusel. Although the fusel one is metal, it's a steel rod. I forged a worm on one end, and the other end I tapped a thread where I could put a brass end on it, and it's a two-part brass end, so I can take off the rammer tip and I can fit on a screw for removing the ball. And it's just a matter of being careful and just doing a little bit each time and working your way around so that you get it nice and straight. If the ramrod comes and it's very long, remember to do that whilst you've got the full length of rod. If you cut it to the length you think you're going to want, and then you end up doing the end wrong, and it's got an angle on it when it's finished, it's not, in other words, it's not straight with the rod, it's keeled over, then that's no good, and you're going to have to cut it off, and then you've got a shorter rod. So do it whilst the rod is long, and make sure you've got it right first. You're finished, you've pinned it, and it's okay, and then you can cut the rod to length. Okay? Now I realise that once you've done that, you've got to make sure you get the other end right, if you're putting two ends on it. But if you're not only putting the one end on it, well then it's not a problem. I've only got the one end on mine. There was no need to put anything else on the other end of the rod. So that made it easy. So do the job first, put the tip on the rod, then measure it, and then cut it to length. Now the thing is, the reason I don't like the rods that come with the guns is that when you've finished, you very often only got a small piece of rod poking out, which means you've got to use your fingers to try and push that last bit down. You don't have a good grip. A lot of people end up putting their hand on top, and this is a bad practice, because if the gun ever went off, it's going to drive that rod through your hand. Okay? So I make sure that when I've finished, the length of rod is long enough that I can get a good grip on the end to push it down, okay, and I've still got a good bit, and that's why I very often end up with that much sticking out from the end of the barrel. Okay, now it might look strange, but the fact is it makes no difference to the shooting of the gun, and it gives me a good grip to be able to ram it down. There's no point making things hard for yourself, especially if you're in a hurry and you've got to reload the gun quickly. Trying to do it with a rod that isn't long enough and you're having to use your fingers on the very tip and you can't get enough force to get that barrel down is just no good. It's just no good. So anyway, I think that's all I've got to say about ramrods. I just thought I'd throw that bit in about the extra, about the long ones. And I've showed you my pistol ramrod, and I'm very pleased with that. I'm no expert at this. I'm just an average guy that with a modicum of common sense, and I've just got to work it out as I go along. I don't mind videoing something where I make mistakes. In fact, I've done some videos like this in the past. But what I don't like to do is to start making a video and then find it doesn't work, and then find that I'm unable to correct it and finish the job. If I can't do that, then I've wasted video time. I haven't wasted my time, because if I make mistakes, I've learned from that mistake, and I know now not to use the way that I just used and to try something else. But to do it all and show you on video that it didn't work, to me is a waste of video time. It's one thing doing that, and it's another thing actually showing you the mistake and me being able to correct it. Okay. So, and as I said, I didn't know where this was going to go, how I was going to make this, so that's why it didn't get videoed from the very beginning. But anyway, there it is. I hope I've explained it well enough that from that you can work out how to make your own if you need to. As I say, I'm very pleased with that. It turned out better than I thought it was going to, being made of wood and being very thin. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.